Welcome to the Financial Armor Show. My name is Brad Cooper, your host and president of Cooper Financial Investments. And I want to welcome, as always, my amazing co-host, Tony Shore. How you doing, Tony?
Brad, I am so happy to be here. I've had a
Yes.
great week. I just, we were talking before the show about how busy we've both been. And it's not like it's a competition, but you always win. You're always seem to be. We talk about, I think I'm busy. And then you tell me what you've been up to. It's crazy. But I've been good, really good. I just, a lot of family stuff. My daughter graduates from college
Yes.
next
That's
week. And
awesome.
so, that'll be fun, and just been doing a lot of stuff with my kids and their significant others, and my wife and I have been keeping busy. How about you, Brad? What have you been up to?
You know what? That's a good busy, Tony. And as I
Yeah, it
as I
is.
visit with our clients who are retired, they tell me how busy they are. And
Yeah.
you know what? Let's compare busies
Yeah.
schedules. And
Yeah.
you know, a lot of it, especially like you and me as well, with our families. Yes, that's busy time, but isn't it such a blessing? It's such quality
Yes.
time, and you know, both of my daughters are grown up. They're adults, married. I'm going to be a grandfather for the first time in August, which I'm excited about.
Yeah,
And
congratulations. That's awesome.
so as we get older, I'm starting to sound like my grandparents, my parents. You
Yeah.
know, the more time you get to spend with your family is, my enjoyment.
Yeah,
But
mine too.
but yes, business has been good. We've been very blessed, just with just amazing people coming into our business, clients that, I always take pride in saying that we're a relationship type business, not a transactional type business.
Right.
And, just being able to sit down with clients and friends and visiting. It seems like, Tony, every time we're doing a review, which we do many of those per week, you
Hmm.
know, just a few minutes is spent on the numbers, but the rest is what's important in life. How's the
Right.
family doing? How's the kids? How's the grandkids? How's your health? And so that's what keeps me going, and the reason why I will probably never retire until my health forces me to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know I don't want you to retire. I'm going to keep doing the show with
Same
you
here.
every week for as long as I can. All that has to happen, my voice holds out. If my voice holds out, I'm here. I'm not retiring. So,
Well, if it doesn't hold out, just use AI and
yeah,
just sit there and just move your lips, right?
that's true. AI will take care of it. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
AI is going to take over the world. There's a lot
Literally,
of
maybe. Hopefully not soon, though.
exactly,
All
but
right. Well, hey, you've got a great topic lined up for us. I mean, I
yes,
really like the title. You said today on the show you were going to ask the question, do you want an extra 50 grand for retirement? And I'm like, yes, please, Brad. Make that check out to Tony Shore,
all right.
Shore. Yeah,
I have already done that, Tony. The check is in the mail.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
But yes, so what a great topic. And we're going to talk about many ways on doing that, which may be common sense to you, maybe new information to you. But, the first, I came across an article, titled One an Extra 50,000 Delay Retiring by Kiplinger. Is a Kiplinger article, and several points they made, which I want to cover. Is number one, of course, which this is common sense. Delay your retirement by anywhere from 6 to 12 months, and in most cases, that can add up to $50,000
Mhm.
in salary and 401k benefits, and also Social Security benefits as well.
Well, right. And as Social Security, you really don't want to make an expensive mistake here. And it does add up. And so a lot of people don't know what they have. And you need a plan in place to figure all this out, don't you?
Absolutely, and that's the next topic, Social Security and the
Yeah.
timing. And my next meeting I'm getting ready to go into, Tony, after we get done with our show here, is a big topic we're going to talk about is when to file for Social Security.
Yep.
We
It's
have
a
a
big one.
great team at Gradient of what I call Social Security experts who know the law inside and out. And one of the reports that we provide to all of our clients is a Social Security maximization report. But it's not black and white. What the article talked about, Social Security timing is critical.
Yeah.
Claiming at 62 reduces your benefits by up to 30%, while delaying to age 70 boosts them to about 30%. But
Wow.
I just reviewed, Tony, right before the show, the Social Security Maximization Report, and they're recommending for this particular meeting that I'm going to, keep in mind there's a little bit of an age difference, but when this person turns 62 years old, they're recommending her to take her benefits, which you don't see too often, even with the
Interesting.
reduction, because of all the other assets, with all the number of years in high income earner over the years that has taken place. But it's not black and white. Normally, the earliest we normally ever recommend is full retirement age.
Yeah, which is for most people about 67. But I find that interesting that if you take it as early as you can, if you file for at 62, your payment will be 30% smaller
Yes,
than it would
right.
be if you waited until your full retirement age. And then if you hold off until 70, it's 30% higher than your full
Right.
retirement age. So it kind of full retirement age is what they count as that's what you can get. That's your amount that you'll get at full retirement age. But 30% reduction if you take it early, that's a lot.
That's a big deduction, but what they base this on is your life expectancy, your
Sure.
other assets. What other monthly income do you have coming in between you and your spouse? There's
Yeah.
so many different factors just on this single topic. And one conversation I'm going to have, even though the report says, they would be okay at 62, I'm probably going to recommend, and here's the reason why, them to wait a few more years. We're going to be doing some tax planning, Roth conversions.
Ah,
And anytime you have and show a big income and you take Social Security before your full retirement age, the IRS will penalize you. And not a lot of people are aware of that. And on top of that, you could be taxed as well. In their case, they will be. So we're probably going to make an argument by making or advising them to maybe wait a few extra years
sure.
on that. So,
It
but
can make a
even
huge difference, can it?
it can. And a lot of times, Tony, when I'm looking at these reports, the difference between full retirement age, the amount, and even age 70 could be $1,000 per month difference, $12,000 a
Wow.
year. So that
Yeah.
that adds up quite a bit. Um, One other thing in the article, working longer delays withdrawals. That's kind of,
Oh,
common
wow.
sense as far as,
Sure.
you know, trying to come up with that extra 50,000 plus. Another factor is market volatility.
Hmm.
We've had quite a bit of that year to date, haven't we?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we
To
have. It's
say the
been quite
least.
a year. Yeah. Yeah. And we're probably not done with the volatility either, are we?
No, I
Yeah.
don't think so. And what we're hearing from a lot of our managers and analysts, we may see another quarter, 2 quarters of, volatility. And that could make a big difference on when you retire. I may have shared this story in a show in the past, but I'll never forget. I had a friend, this has been probably 20 years ago. His intention was to retire in 2009. And he has done a great job saving, had the majority of his money in 401ks. And when 2009 came, just a history lesson, what happened in '07, '08, and '09?
Yeah. The market tanked. We had the Great Recession, is what they called
Right.
it. Yeah.
He lost over 55% of his
Oh,
retirement.
ouch.
So, what that made him do, which he was not happy with, he ended up having to work another 10 years. So, he did
Ouch.
not retire till 2019. So, work with a financial service professional, be proactive when it comes to retirement planning and making sure you have all your ducks in a row. And then, you know, once you do that, once you sit down, and that's one thing I love doing, Tony, is after a person sits down with us, they're empowered with
Mhm.
wisdom and knowledge and education. And they always walk out of my office knowing more than what they did before, because that's what we do, holistic financial planning. And we're addressing every area, just not investments. tax planning, estate planning, social security planning, and the list goes on.
Yeah. Well, and it's good. You have to incorporate all that. And if that person had been working with you sooner, if you have a plan in place and you have your assets properly allocated, you won't have all your income for retirement tied up in the market. Some of it will be, but some of it will be elsewhere. So you'll be able to weather those storms. You won't have to work another 10 years, right?
That's right. And as the list goes on, and this article talks about retirement doesn't have to be a hard stop. You know,
Hmm.
lately I've been meeting with a lot of people that's getting ready to retire. They have a target date when they want to retire, but they're going to work part-time, thereafter for another 3, 4, 5 years plus. You know, just the meeting I had last week, they're retiring here by year end, December of 2025, but they're going to be working part-time for another 6 or 7 years just to give them something to do. They have hobbies, they love to travel, but they also, like to interact with people, and they're going to do that on their spare time and make an extra couple $1,000s doing so.
Sure. And I think more and more people are maybe still maybe not the majority, but a lot of people are kind of easing into retirement. In other words,
Right.
just scaling back a bit, not a hard stop, like you said.
And that's a big transition. I always try to put myself in their shoes. And I've been at this for over 31 years, Tony. I love what I do. And I just try to think, what if I were going to retire today? What would my
Right.
life look like? What would my family dynamics be? My wife would probably say, "Who are you? Get
Right.
out of the house. You're driving me crazy."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But, each individual is different. I just met with a client for a review a couple weeks ago, and they just recently retired in the last year. I said, "How's retirement?" And they said, "Well, Brad, it's not what I thought it was. It's a big adjustment
It's a huge
because
adjustment.
this person was a people person.
Yep.
They were around coworkers and people on a regular basis, and now that was all taken away. So they're having a hard time adjusting to that. So I would be recommending be very, cautious and mindful, of course, of, that as you enter into retirement and what you think your retirement should look at and look like.
Yeah. Yeah, and so if you wanna secure more money, for yourself, to have during retirement, like the extra 50,000 we're talking about, or whatever that number can be, and it can vary, you just need to be doing these things and aware of these things, of when to file for Social Security, how to plan, how to allocate assets. But, again, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You hopefully won't have to end up working 10 more years. And, if you enjoy what you do, though, and it brings you fulfillment
Right.
and can also give you time you want with your family and friends, why retire? If you've got the best of both worlds there. Some people, they just don't have the time if they keep doing their job, but maybe scale back or something, right?
Yes, absolutely. Another point I just see on here is you can always call Tony Shore, and he would be
What's
more
that?
than happy to give you $50,000.
Right.
You don't have to work longer. You don't have to worry about doing things right. No. Oh.
I don't think so. No.
But you know, there's a Yahoo article I came across too, Tony. I want to just talk about five
Sure.
ways to recession proof your savings. And we talked about this in shows past. That nasty B word. You know what nasty B
Budget.
word I'm talking about? Budget.
Nobody likes to budget,
No,
right?
but you know what? I have found that the majority of our clients that we're working with, especially that are in their 60s or 70s retiring, they have done a good job with budget. That doesn't scare them as much as maybe a 20-year-old or a 30 or 40-year-old, but having
Right.
a budget and really tracking your expenses, tracking what money's coming in, what money's going out, and if there is a shortfall, what could we sacrifice? But
Right.
here's what's exciting when we're sitting down and we're discussing income planning, retirement planning, and what's your goal per month to have for the rest of your life to be able to retire. We're finding that the majority of the people we're sitting down with, Tony, which is great news, can retire. And they can
That's
retire
great.
today And because let me just give you a quick example, which I come across often. Let's say a person is still working. Let's say they're making $100,000 a year, but we know that they don't get to take home that 8,000 plus per month. What comes out? Taxes, health insurance,
Yeah.
maybe their 401k contributions, maybe disability life insurance. And by the time they end up walking away each week, each month, that may go from $100,000 down to $60,000 a year to $5,000 a month.
Hmm.
So when someone says, "Well, I want at least what I was making at work," well, you really can't base that on 100,000. You really need to base that more on probably $5,000 a month or $60,000 a year.
Right.
Then,
Yeah.
then you take a look at their Social Security
Mhm.
between husband and wife if they're a married couple, and then any other assets. That's what's encouraging and giving a lot of people hope when they're looking at retirement and wanting to retire, or at least have the option to retire.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to have the option. And I think you want to retire because you want to and are able to, not because you have to. Um, but either way, you want to be prepared and get prepared beforehand. And that's where you come in. Obviously, starting with a budget, knowing where your spending is at and what you'll need for figuring out that amount. People are like, how do I know what I'm going to need for retirement? You talk to Brad Cooper. That's the answer to
Yep,
that question.
there's no magic number. You and I and many others have read many articles. How much do you need?
Yep.
$1 million, a
Yep.
half a million.
Everybody you need 1.2 million or 1 million or yeah.
Right. There's so many different factors, and based on that, I would encourage you, if you're listening, do not compare yourself to your
No,
family members, to your
everybody's
neighbors, to your
different.
coworkers. Everyone is different.
No rule of thumb will work for this.
So true. And another very important way of recession proofing your savings and protecting what you have is have a good emergency fund. And when I
Yes.
say a good emergency fund, I still come across clients and new people when I say, "Well, how much do you have in your bank account between checking and savings?" "Oh, Brad, we have about $250,000. That's way too much
Yeah.
for the average person, because most of
Right.
these savings accounts and checking accounts with most banks, not every bank, is paying zero,
Yeah.
maybe 1%, 2%. So, but have, in my recommendation, have a good 6 months of expenses
For sure.
available. But then I take it to the next level. I take it another step. And I talked about this, I think, on our last show. And I had this discussion this morning in a meeting. But, you know, if you have a home that's paid off, or if you have a home that has a lot of equity, consider opening up a home equity line of credit with your bank,
A
just to
HELOC.
have there,
Yeah.
a HELOC, just to have there, that's tax-free money that you can access normally within minutes once it's open.
Yep.
And if an emergency happens, or better yet, let's say an opportunity comes across, you're shopping for a new car and you find this car that you can get a bargain on and save $10,000, but it's, a decision and cash you have to come up with immediately. That's one good source versus having to rely on waiting 2, 3, 4 business days and maybe even paying
Hmm.
taxes if it's coming out of your IRA. But having a good emergency fund, and here's been my experience in my own life, Tony. If you have a good emergency fund, if you have a good HELOC that you can fall back on, financial emergencies don't happen as often.
Yeah.
But
It's
if you
true.
don't have
It's
it,
true. If you don't have it, they'll happen all the time. Yeah, that's the way it works. But I'd rather have it and not need it for that than not have it. Right.
that's so true.
Yeah.
So that's one. And then make your cash, which I kind of alluded to a little bit, make your cash work harder. You know, don't keep 100,000, 200, $300,000 in your checking account.
Oh, yeah. That's a mistake.
There's other safe accounts that are paying a higher yield that are liquid that you can get your hands on normally within a day or two that are out there. So
Yeah.
just don't trust, all your money with one institution, with one bank. And keep in mind the FDIC insurance limit's 250,000. And
Yeah.
a
They're not going
lot
to
of people,
insure above that anyway. So,
no.
Yeah.
and they're just using your money to make money.
Yeah.
And then, when this article came out, Tony, they said consider locking in rates with a CD. A year ago, CD rates were more attractive, but as interest
Yeah.
rates are coming down and will come down hopefully over the next year or so, interest rates with CDs aren't as nearly attractive as they used to be.
No, you need to shop around. I mean, you have to, every bank is different. Every day they're offering something different. And there are a lot of other options that I know you have for your listeners. I know there's MIGAs,
Right.
which is like a CD, but offers maybe a higher return. There are other options where you can protect your principal. I mean, even on the investment side, there's buffered index
Yes.
portfolios and things that offer you downside protection and you get some upside. So you don't want to miss out on growth, but at the same time, you don't want to sacrifice principal and liquidity. But you've got to have a balance in order to achieve that, don't you?
Yes,
Yeah,
don't put all your eggs in one basket. Be diversified, but
right.
also you hit on, which we talked about off and on the last, several months, buffered portfolios. We've had our money managers on
Yeah,
talking about those. As I'm speaking, to large groups of people the last, 6 to 12 months, I usually bring some of these portfolios up just to, let people know, and no one is aware, of a lot of these buffered portfolios that
yeah,
are offered, which are amazing. I personally have my money there, and most of our clients do. They offer a
yeah,
buffer of protection in case the market does drop. So I would encourage you to do your research, work with and consult a financial service professional who's going to give you all these options available.
yeah.
Not
Who's a
ones.
trusted financial professional? Who's a
Yes,
fiduciary? Who's going to look out for your best interests and are held to that standard? And that's what you and your team are there, Brad. And I think that's so important
right.
because you have access to some of these exclusive products. And banks and insurance companies, and now even portfolio managers and brokerage companies and investment firms, they are becoming more and more competitive to
Right.
try to get you to keep your money with them. And so the products and the offers and the investment tools they provide have gotten so much better for the consumer. That competition has really led to a lot of
Mhm.
great things like that buffered index portfolio where, wow, I can be in the stock market, I can get downside protection and still get a lot of the upside participation. That's huge.
That's right, and have all that plus liquidity, which,
Yeah,
is important to a lot of folks.
it
So
is.
I challenge you, do your homework and consult with a holistic financial planner, fiduciary that's, again, like you said, Tony, has your best interest at heart and not just theirs. And
Yeah,
that's kind of what
huge.
we see a lot, especially as I do reviews and I meet with new people, review their existing portfolios with every company I've seen out there, every big investment firm. And, most of what I see is the same.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying they do a bad job or a good job, but, the biggest thing I see is risk. And
Mm.
most people that come in my office that I sit down with, that I take a quick eye of what they have, usually the risk they're taking does not match up to the risk they want and thought they were taking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, a lot of them, when they come to you, everything's at risk. Everything's,
it is.
everything could be gone. So, that's not good. But if somebody wants a plan in place or to get a second opinion on where they're at or see what they have at risk or take that risk tolerance questionnaire to figure out where their own risk
Yes.
tolerance lays versus where they're at, how can our listeners do that? I know that you're offering that no charge, no obligation.
That's right, Tony. Yeah, you can visit our website, financialarmorshow.com. Again, that's financialarmorshow.com. You can go online, you can ask any question you have, or you can click on the upper right hand corner and answer 11 quick questions that may take you 2 minutes at the most if you're a slow reader like me. And that will give you your personal risk score, which is so important. That's one of many tests that we, you know, give to every person we meet. Or you can pick up the phone and call us. We have a toll free number, 888 390 5277. Again, that's 888 390 5277.
All right. Well, Brad, great show today. This is such an important topic. Really maximizing your income for retirement and how much you're going to have for retirement is a part of what you've been doing for people in this area and your clients for a long time, Brad. So I encourage them to pick up the phone, give you a call at 888 390 5277, or go to financialarmorshow.com. And that does it for today's episode of the Financial Armor Show with our host, Brad Cooper.
Thank you, Tony.